Hello and welcome to H2 Movie Talk. I am your host, Dean's Beans, and as always, I am joined by my split personality. He's the American version of me. It's Harlan Duffy. This is the big third act reveal. You've never seen us in the same room.
This never.
No, I feel like we could be a good Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley.
I think okay, if you were going to say Mark Spector and Stephen Grant, I do think that like ignoring the accents, I would be the Stephen Grant in the situation.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I think you would be the Jake Lockley.
I'm the Jake Lockley. Okay, no, I'm Mark Spector. Will can be Jake Lockley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he can do a good French accent. I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
Anyway, if you haven't already told, I mean, you know, because you've seen the title of this podcast, but today we're talking about Moon Knight. It's our classic series. When I say classic, we haven't done it for that long, where we go back through a TV show, a superhero TV show, and we go episode by episode, and we're like, hey, was this any good? Did we enjoy it? And then we rank all the TV shows we've watched and all the episode and our favorite episode of each season and blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah. Okay. So, what were your first impressions when you first saw Moon Knight?
When I saw Moon Knight, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think my opinion has stayed consistent, and that's that I enjoy it, and I think it has issues, but it's pretty good.
That was my opinion on Moon Knight the first time I watched it.
Ooh.
However, on rewatch, I enjoyed it significantly more.
Well, I did not know which way that was going.
No.
Oh, okay.
Enjoyed it much more.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can talk about this little thing. Okay. Okay. We're going episode by episode. Are we just starting right now, right here?
Yeah. Right out of the gate.
Episode 1 is called The Goldfish Problem. Hey, Harlan, why is it called that?
Because the goldfish has one fin, and then the next day it has two, and it's confusing to the main character.
Oh my, it's a problem with the goldfish. Okay. In this episode, I struggled to write summaries for these early episodes because like they intentionally don't make sense. But what I've got here is Stephen Grant struggles to sleep and leads a confusing life until he wakes up in Switzerland under attack by Arthur Harrow and his men. He comes in and out of consciousness, and whenever he wakes up, people are hurt. He eventually wakes up back in London days later. He tries to go on a date, but that didn't pan out. And then he finds a hidden room in his apartment. Arthur Harrow meets him when he's kidnapped by some fake policemen. Oh no, Arthur Harrow meets him at the museum, and he's attacked by a jackal. He becomes Moon Knight and fights it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the first episode does something very interesting. I think a lot of these pilot episodes from Marvel, they really try to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like once they get towards the end, they revert to the typical Marvel-ness.
Yeah.
But it does something really interesting by it. We're introduced to what we think is the protagonist, but it's not really, but it is. Mm-hmm. But that's not who the story's about necessarily.
Okay. We all knew it was coming because other than Suits, what we love on this podcast is silly voices. So can you just give me your Stephen Grant?
Yeah.
Well, let's go on. Give it a go.
I don't know. Are you setting me up?
No, I want to hear your Stephen Grant impression, then I'll do one. And I mean, I've got the natural advantage, but I
you can just speak and you sound like him.
Yep. Laters, Gators.
Bloody hell! Or what else did you say?
Wagwan.
That is a specific thing that you understood and I didn't. Which is really cool. We've talked about that specific exclaim before.
I get the same feeling from that than I did from a lot of Spider-Punk's lines in Across the Spider-Verse, because it's definitely a like that's a thing where you're like, oh, they've got English people in the room because there's no way American has like researched this and they found, oh, on Urban Dictionary it says Wagwan means what's up traditionally.
Yeah, because it doesn't even like there's
Yeah.
nothing in the captions that says
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
But speaking of the captions,
mm-hmm.
I was really nervous they may have taken it out, but there are captions in episode 1 specifically. It doesn't come up anywhere else where Mark is speaking, but it's Steven and you don't hear Mark say anything.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
that is really cool.
How do you feel about Arthur Harrow as a character?
I really like him.
Yeah, he's
One
good,
there's
but
one specific point that we're going to get to that really changed my mind on the character. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I think he does like monologue a bit too much, and I think he is a bit. But also, you know, we got you gotta big up the actor who I love.
Ethan Hawke. Who are you
Yes,
talking about?
Ethan.
Yeah, he's good.
I love
Yeah, this episode does really good job. Good job.
good guy.
Good
Shut.
job. I hate you. Diverting your expectations.
Yeah,
The CGI looks good,
yeah. I was
and you get that awesome reveal at the end.
yeah, with the reveal at the end of the Moon Knight suit. Of
Mhm.
the do, 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 do. And then there's a
This
really good pause, and then it goes do do.
this this entire series has an amazing
It
score.
really does. It really does. I really fixate on that pause. Do you know what I mean when they do it?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then he kind of yeah. I'm yeah. There's more. Yeah, I liked this first episode. I think I remember people complaining like, "Oh, they just cut away from all the action." But I thought it was very cleverly done, and there's more to these things than the action. And I
There's
think
only one time where that annoys me, but we'll talk about that.
yes, we will talk about that. And I agree with what you're inevitably going to say. I really like the opening episode. I think it sets up the mystery well. I think it's kind of a flawless pilot.
No, I would agree with you on that one.
You think it's a flawless pilot?
I think this episode starts it, but it's carried out throughout the entire series of it being. It's really smart how they display like Steven talking to Mark.
Yeah.
Like Mark's in the mirrors, or in like reflections of the
That's
knife.
more
Like,
episode 2 and onwards, but yeah,
well, they do the thing in like the mirror when they're in the bathroom.
that's true. Yeah. Do you, I think you're really silly for thinking this is a flawless pilot because the word's pilot. So
Isn't a word.
yeah, so there's egg on your face. Anyway, episode 2 is called Summon the Suit. I wonder why it's called that.
He summons the suit.
Oh,
That's
oh,
why.
I was really puzzled. Okay, so Stephen
Okay.
is fired from his museum job after the destruction the jackal caused, and on the security cameras, it doesn't show any monster; it just shows Stephen. While investigating further, he finds a storage locker with fake IDs and weapons with his face on the. I mean, the fake IDs have his face on, not the weapons. He meets Mark Spector, his other personality, and he also then meets Khonshu, an Egyptian god, and then he meets a woman claiming to be his wife called Layla. Stephen gets taken by Arthur's men and gives the body to Mark to fight off a jackal, and Arthur Harrow gets the
The GPS.
the GPS. Yeah,
Layla is like what Jane Foster should have been.
Layla is what every like love interest should be, and I'm not saying they should all be exactly the same, but just the level of independence and agency she has.
She like exactly like not only like can she kick ass, but like you understand why she kicks ass, and like great actress that she just gives like an intriguing performance. Like Jane Foster when she's on screen, like you're not like you just kind of want to get back to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like okay, well, where's Thor? I'm like in the first 2 Thor movies, Jane Foster. Oof.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and it just
I
like goes the same with like love interest in comic book movies. Like, you just tend to
I mean,
blow.
yeah, you know, we all know who the worst one is. It's, you know, MJ in your favorite films.
Oh yeah, I like. I don't even like consider that because it's like so poorly written. It can't even like be considered as an attempt.
Anyway, I think this episode is also really excellent. I love just the way they introduce Conchu and the way they introduce Mark, and also the way they introduce Layla, and then just Steven still has no idea what's going on. I think there's also really good Arthur Harrow stuff here at the end in the commune.
Mm.
I think that's one of my favorite Arthur Harrow scenes. And then after this episode, I start to have issues.
You know, after seeing the Flash, my
I was
opinion.
going to talk about, yeah, go on.
I'm not gonna. We will talk about specifically one thing in particular that I want to talk about, but just the
Yeah.
CGI in general.
I know what you're going to talk about, and I agree. Yeah.
The CGI in general is just really smart and it looks sick. And I think there are like one or two times where it looks like maybe a little bit spotty, but I think this might be the best CGI in a Marvel show, potentially.
I think WandaVision's great, but yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
When also when you think in WandaVision, you've got like Vision and you've got like a lot of that stuff as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying any of this is bad. I'm just saying, yeah, I agree.
Um, and you get a really good scene. It is this is the one where Stephen gives his exclaim, right? Is
Yes.
that yeah. So you get that as well.
Wagwan.
And the
Oh,
reveal of Moon Knight, it's of like Stephen's Mr. Knight. Is that what he's called?
yeah, it's yeah, sort of. In the comics, Mr. Knight is a different personality of of Mark Spector, who's like a billionaire. But in this, they're
Oh,
like, let's just make him look like Stephen Grant. Is my recollection from the Moon Knight days.
it
Um,
works.
yes. What do you think of the main Moon Knight suit? I'm still undecided on like the bandaged look.
I I do think it there's one CGI shot where the bandages don't look that good.
Yeah.
But I think it looks cool. I don't have a problem with it. I think maybe seeing a more comic accurate version may have been cool, but like
Yeah.
I have no problem with when we have it. I think it looks
Yeah,
really
I don't
nice.
have a problem with it. Just the part of me that makes me think, oh, maybe the clean look would look better is like when you see like Mr. Knight's mask and like that just
Mm.
looks sick. And then I'm like, that, imagine that. I'm gonna sneeze. But you know.
Are you really? Bless you.
Oh, oh, am I gonna this is just the build up. It might be nothing now. I'm doing a Harlan.
I don't think it. Oh, ouch.
You haven't done that in a while. Okay, I think I've fought it off.
Good. I'm so proud of you.
Are we hitting to episode 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, worst episode of the show. Let's get into episode 3, which is called. We'll get to thoughts. Episode 3 is called The Friendly Type. Hey, well, I don't know why it's called that.
Because they're friends.
Oh, wait, what?
Go over this. Go over this episode.
I think it's called The Friendly Type because there's probably a line in there where Steven's like, I'm not a fighter, I'm the friendly type.
Probably.
Okay, I wanted to say this earlier on when we were talking about the accent. There are 2 characters in all of fiction that can get away with awful English accents, and that's
Wait,
Steve.
can I guess?
Yeah,
Stephen Grant and Mary Poppins guy. That name
Dick Van
escapes
Dyke.
me. Dick
No,
Van Dyke.
yeah, he can sort of get away with one. It's more obvious than that. He sounds different to Stephen Grant.
Jared Leto.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
no, it's Billy Butcher.
Oh, right.
Well. What do we have here? Anyway,
What about the Jared Leto one? What does that sound like?
what in English?
Or any accent.
What do you think it would sound like if there was a 4th personality?
Damn it. Dean, I don't know the quote. Can you just say it?
Never confuse sheet with chocolato. They may look the same, but they taste very different.
I,
Trust,
w-
I know. So
I was, yeah, that's what I wanted you to say.
okay.
I realized I have a condition. My friends point out I have a condition
Mhm.
where I can never quote something correctly. Like I
Yeah.
always say it like it's slightly off. I could never do it right.
Not just hear that insult that I just threw out there.
Did you say yeah?
No,
What did you
it's fine.
say?
You didn't hear it. It's fine.
I
Yeah,
can go back.
you could. You said I've got a condition, and I said shortness. Um,
I'm taller than you. What are you talking about?
that's true. Sorry, I'm
I'm
just
taller than Will.
insecurities. Yeah, but no one knows how tall Will is. Anyway, why
It's
is
like
Will...
7 feet tall.
He is actually okay. Episode 3. We're finally getting there. In Egypt, Mark searches for the tomb. Khonshu has a meeting with the other Egyptians gods to try get Harrow in trouble, and they find a tomb with a clue on, and they fight a mob boss to escape. And to figure out the clue, Khonshu turns back to the night sky and then gets imprisoned, and Mark loses his powers.
Okay.
You know why this is the worst episode?
Why?
It just this is not a TV episode. This is like I know this is like the classics cliche complaint about Marvel TV shows, and a lot of the times I don't really agree with it. But this is just half hour taken out of a movie. Like this is paced. This episode, in my opinion, is paced so poorly. And I was watching it. I'm like, oh, and now we're here, and now we're here, and then the episode ends. I'm like, oh, okay, just that just like it was
Mm.
just a collection of scenes, and I'm like, that was not an episode of TV.
Right. This is the episode. Is this the episode? No, it's they Layla and Steven kiss the next episode, right?
Yes, at the start of the next episode, I believe.
Yeah, no, this is I this might be the weakest episode now that I'm thinking about it.
And also, I don't know if it was because I was kind of half watching it. So, just like I'm gonna ask you to talk me through Arthur Harrow's plan. So he needs to free the god of
Amit.
Amit. I have written down Crocodile Lady a few times in these summaries. Um, and so he gets the little GPS thing,
Mm.
and he has to get that off Stephen. Do we find out where Stephen got that from? No,
No.
that's besides the point. But then why does he switch from using that to having to use the clue that's on the tomb? Like, why does he go for the tomb?
What, Steven?
Well, Arthur as well, because he shows up there.
Well, yeah, but he's still using the thing.
Yeah, but Steve, how did they get to the tomb before Arthur Harrow did?
Um well, they kind of showed up at the same exact time.
Yeah, which is weird. If he knew, like, sure, they were like, "Oh, we found the tomb," didn't they? In like episode 2 or whatever.
It is a little I'm not sure.
I don't know if we were just half watching it because that is a possibility.
It well, because the entire idea is like they go through all this like turning back time to be able to use the map to find the tomb, right?
Yeah,
But Arthur Harrow
it's the
has
scarab he has.
the scarab, yeah, and he's using that to specifically get to it. But aren't they digging?
Yeah, they are. I don't know. It's just convoluted, and I feel like that just added to the confusion of the pacing of this episode, which I don't like.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And I think there's slight pacing issues like throughout the rest of the show, but it's not that bad.
Arthur Harrow just kind of shows up everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because obviously, like, I know people. You get shows like She-Hulk, which we both enjoy, but that's episodic, as in there's one story an episode.
Right.
Now, obviously, this is one story stretched across 6 episodes, but it's paced weirdly because when I think about something like Peacemaker, that is like one story stretched across 6 episodes. but each episode feels like an episode. And then I
Right.
watch this and I'm kind of like, ooh. And it's like the same with The Boys, actually. Like you watch something like that and you're like episode, and then watch Moon Knight. I'm like when it gets to the middle bit, they kind of merge, and like it happens with Miss Marvel. It happens with I don't, kind of with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I think it's not a better show than Moon Knight, but I think it does the kind of episodic thing a bit better.
Yeah, WandaVision does it really well.
One Division does it really well. Yeah,
at least the first half.
Yeah, I think it does it well.
Yeah,
but
like also, one could make an argument that they prefer it feeling like a 6-hour movie rather than an episodic in nature. I think like, is that inherently a bad thing for a show to have?
Releasing it weekly.
Oh yeah, that's true. They did release this weekly, which is something they're adjusting with, though. To be fair.
Yeah, but that might just be because Echo's bad.
That's also true.
Also, I saw another reason why they might. If listeners do not know, that the TV show Echo, which is the character from Hawkeye, they're releasing all at once. And another reason I read why that might be was that people don't watch it every single week and go, oh, when's Daredevil showed up? He's going to show up next week and Kingpin's going to be in it. And then the next week he's still not in it. And then people just get really annoyed and don't like the show. Kind of happened
with She-Hulk, yeah. And it kind of happened with me for this show too, and we'll get into that once we wrap up this summaries.
Yes. Okay. Episode 4.
Yes.
Or like episode poor. No, I don't mind this episode. I think it's the second worst episode. I don't know what it is. There's just a middle sag in this show. But Layla and Stephen or Mark enter the tomb and explore. Layla meets Harrow, who says Mark was there when her dad died. Stephen finds what everyone is looking for, but in a confrontation with Arthur, Mark is shot and killed. Mark wakes up in a mental hospital with all his friends, and in the hospital, he meets Stephen and a giant hippo.
Okay. So at the beginning, when Mark punches Stephen, that is very funny.
Yeah.
I was watching this like very late at night, and that made me laugh out loud because that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think where is in this episode are you like, oh wow, we are here for a while? Like the pacing here is.
So I was just thinking about this. I think Moon Knight would work better as a show if you made it 5 episodes, and then episode 3 was the start of episode 3 to Mark being shot, and then episode 4 was from him waking up in the hospital to the end of that episode. And like, I guess that does remove some of the tension of the really cool ending this episode has, but I think that would kind of pace it better, because this feels like the second and third act of one episode with the first act of another episode kind of just welded together.
No, I agree. Like when I was watching this show, I forgot about the whole hippo ending, because that was like that week when it came out, everybody was like losing their mind a little bit. Yeah, right.
It's my favorite part of the show. Yeah.
I forgot about that while watching it because I was just watching it, and I was when Stephen ended up in the mental asylum, I was like, oh, how long is left in this episode? And it was like a third was still there, and it was it. I agree. Like, I mean, I guess like episode 5 kind of more or less all takes place there, but still.
No, I think when you get to that, it is a long reveal of nothing, because they don't really reveal anything.
Right, you're still confused by the end. You get little hints, like when the lights are swaying, but nothing really.
No, nothing. And also this episode was called The Tomb. No idea why it was called The Tomb. Episode 5.
Wait. Hold on. We forgot one part when Stephen apologizes to Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
Because that's funny.
Yeah. I like
we get some good Arthur Harrow in this too.
Yeah, I think I like him getting shot I think that is a good twist. A part
Yeah,
of me does think that would be better as the end of an episode.
I do think it was. This is like a total little thing I noticed, but I don't know why it sticks out to my brain so much. When when Mark falls into the water, and like he descends to like the afterlife or whatever, he's floating in a way that's almost like like Christ or whatever, but his arm is one arm is turned down, and I think I
It's,
don't know.
it's
I could just see like somebody seeing that and being like, "Oh wait, he can't be like that." Hey,
you could
Oscar, can you move your arm a little bit?
say it's symbolic for his scales not being balanced.
Oh yeah,
Symbolism.
symbolism.
This is what I think happened with this show. Now I've thought about it. I think they wrote out the plot of the show and they were like, okay, now we need to turn this into 6 episodes. And then they were like, oh no, but this is kind of 5 episodes. No, make it 6. And then it became 6 episodes.
Well, also I think there was there's the actor that died while shooting.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe there was like they had to cut that character out somehow. And maybe that's a whole plot line we didn't get.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's speculatory. I don't know anything about that really.
Can I say who I think is the real MVP actor wise of this show?
Yeah.
And like it's not going to be like obviously Oscar Isaac's great, and there's really good moments where you get like a one shot of him going from Mark to Stephen. They're
Mm-hmm.
solid. For me, I'm a big fan. I had to look up this guy's name. I'll admit it. Of F. Murray Abraham, who voices Khonshu.
Yeah.
What a voice on that guy.
Khonshu's cool.
Yeah, what a voice.
Um. Yeah.
What a
Okay.
bird. Anyway,
Episode 5.
episode 5. I've got the smallest summary ever here. It's called Asylum. Not sure why. Mark and Stephen explore their old memories in the afterlife and see that Stephen was created to save Mark from trauma from his mother. Stephen dies and Mark goes to the nice afterlife.
So this kind of has to pertain what I was talking about.
Okay.
When these episodes were coming out week to week,
Yeah.
I knew this episode was coming.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to just sit back and watch what is happening, I was more like being like, oh, that, and like looking and like being like, oh, I remember this person talking about how this is going to happen, so this is going to happen next. And I was like, not like I was in like the right headspace, but like I wasn't fully, taking it all in.
Yeah.
But it is so like emotional and well
Yeah.
crafted, and I was shocked at how moved I was by the second viewing
Yeah. I did
of this
have
episode.
one complaint.
What is that?
WandaVision does literally exactly the same episode as their penultimate episode.
That is true.
And I realized that when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is just WandaVision of them like, oh, let's look at all the traumatic things that have happened to Wanda. And let's have two characters literally walk through the memories while they happen in front of them and they can't interact and talk about them. And then let's have big cliffhanger to the last episode.
Which series do you think made more sense to do it?
Made more I think it makes more sense in WandaVision because they have a proper plot reason of Agatha Harkness needs to find she wants to know how Wanda was able to create Westview. And they're like, oh, we need to look through your memories to find the reason. And I get I don't know, I feel like the scale balance thing is just a bit like wishy-washy. And I guess
it is.
thing is, and like it's I don't dislike this episode. I think I do enjoy the exploration, like you said, and I understand why they need to they're like, oh, we need a reason for them to look through their memories. Oh, let's just do this. And I think it works. Like it's not a complaint about that. I'm just saying the WandaVision one, I think is like the reasoning behind it is stronger.
Yeah, I do find but the reasoning behind WandaVision is stronger. But I think I get more enjoyment out of this one though.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know. What I really like about the WandaVision one is you have Agatha there, like challenging Wanda about this stuff.
Mm.
And I also, I don't know, I like the Wanda story, and I like the stuff with Vision in there as well. You
Oh,
know,
that's true. You get Vision in there, which is a whole other can of worms for you.
but I do like this episode. I don't know, I don't know.
I
I
do think it's an interesting dynamic because they're like the same person, but one doesn't know about it, and like
yeah,
I think it would, and I think it's also interesting to see who were you were initially introduced to be the main character, realizing he's not the main character.
yeah,
I thought was really cool, but they
yeah.
didn't.
It's just
Yeah,
I feel like I I don't know. I feel like it kind of feels like a cheap way to explore this stuff when you go, oh, it's exactly the same as WandaVision. So I'll forgive it. If there's a third one, then I'm gonna,
yeah, because also weren't they shooting at the same time?
sort of, yeah, they were in, development around the same time.
Yeah, well, like for sure, it it wasn't oh hey
It
look
wasn't a
what just aired on
copy,
WandaVision.
but there would have been like quite a few people who had both scripts in front of them, and none of them went, oh,
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like,
or they did, and they were like,
yeah, yeah, maybe they did come out quite a while apart as well in the end.
yeah,
Over a year, isn't it? Just
yeah.
yeah, because it's like January or Feb. One Division was, and I feel like this was March last year. Anyway,
Anyway,
episode 6, the finale, which is called Gods and Monsters. Wait, isn't that the DCU?
oh,
Oh, James Gunn is copying Moon Knight because he's
I knew it.
the best the MCU has ever done. Um, Layla follows Arthur Harrow into the pyramid, where Harrow releases Crocodile Lady, who makes Harrow her avatar, and as he's unbalanced, Layla releases Khonshu. He tries to make Layla his avatar, but when she says no, he resurrects Mark. Layla becomes Hippo avatar. Layla and Moon Knight fight Arthur and his people, while Crocodile fights Khonshu.
Okay, first complaint,
Yeah,
very base level complaint. Why didn't Arthur Harrow get a cool supervillain outfit?
that's true.
Because he's just in this weird little, what would you call it, a jumper?
Yeah,
It is like, and he fights Moon Knight. He like jumps off a pyramid to strike Moon Knight.
yeah.
This Layla gets one, and it's cool.
Oh, her
It's,
costume's sick.
it's so cool. Even though it's basically Falcon, it's so cool.
Oh, it's cooler than Falcons. I would go as far to say. Oh, he's really thinking about it.
Yeah,
Which,
because she has the swords.
yeah, and there's lots of Falcon costumes. Um, yeah, I just think about this now. Maybe this should have been 2 episodes because I think there are quite a few things which are rushed.
Yeah.
And then if you made this 2 episodes, then you can make, you know, you get rid of episode 4, and then we're sorted. But my favorite scene and my favorite the moment where I was like, I really like Arthur Harrow as a guy, and not as a guy, as a character, was so it is like, I feel like a lot of the time you're watching this, the reason he's not super interesting because he's a trope of just like the a religious zealot who's like worshipping a dark god and trying to resurrect them, and then he resurrects them, and like his whole thing is, oh, if your scales are unbalanced then you're gonna die. And then the crocodile appears and she's like, your scales are unbalanced. And he's like, oh, okay, that's fair enough. You can kill me. And in that moment, I'm like, oh, I like this guy because it's all these characters are always, I'm trying to bring back this dark god so they can give me ultimate power and I can rule the world alongside them, or blah, blah, blah. But this guy just believes what he's doing is right. And then when the crocodile lady's like, your scales are unbalanced, he's like, okay, that's a shame, but you can kill me. I'm more than happy. And then when the crocodile lady's like, no, I won't kill you. He's like, are you sure? You probably should because of this reason, this reason. She's like, no. And he's like, yeah, maybe you should. And she's like, no.
Yeah, I did. It is interesting, and I like his character. However, my like the good and bad part about Marvel, right? The good and bad part is when they hit when they like get a success, they're like, okay, how can we do more of this? And they keep on going with them.
Yeah.
And I think Thanos was such a big success that they were like, okay, people like this villain because you could see where he was coming from, and like in some ways you could look at him as a hero, not the hero, but like you know what I mean. And like I think that's why people liked the High Evolutionary, because he was just evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think like we got tired of the oh no, but he has a point trope after this.
The thing is, I think you can make a very good argument that we were tired of it before this, and just this is a good example of it because like you get Carly Morgenthau, you get
this Arthur is better than Carly.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Carly's a bad example of it, and people are tired of it in that. And then you get what was the other example I was thinking? What other villains? So you
The One Who Remains.
Yeah, and you know, I think I prefer Arthur Harrow to He Who Remains, but that's because of my issues with Loki as a show, which is a different conversation.
I'm not looking forward to that day. Not looking forward when we talk about that.
Hey, you might change your mind on a rewatch, and I might change my mind on a rewatch.
Yep, that's very true.
Imagine if we just swap opinions.
That's possible.
It would be funny. Anyway, the issue is they're like, okay, my issue with Arthur here is they're like, okay, you're the Avatar now. And he's like, oh, sick. And then he fights Moon Knight and then he gets shot and he's dead.
Yeah.
There's just nothing done with that. They're like, he's like, okay, your scales are unbalanced, which means you're going to be great at serving meat. And he's like, yeah, I will be great. And then
he's not. And that's that.
Yeah. And that's where I think stuff is rushed.
It would be super interesting to see him doubt the god. You know what I don't know. That could have been potentially an interesting subplot that would have been able to I don't know. Or seeing his mind corrupted sort of a thing.
Yeah. What else? We'll go big kaiju fight, I'm always a fan of, as you know.
Me too. I thought that CGI crocodile actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
CGI and the hippo. We didn't really talk about
the hippo. What is it? Because they managed to like emote, which is always like the difficult thing to do. Khonshu looks really good. I like Khonshu's design.
Yeah, but he's a little bit easier, I feel like, because he doesn't talk.
He doesn't have he can't
or emote.
Yeah, emote. Also, I had a thought before we get to the thing I know you want to talk about.
There are two things I want to talk about.
Okay.
So you get yours out of the way, and then you can pick from A or B. This is which one we start with.
The Thing. Yeah. Did you? Okay. What I was going to say. Do you remember what was in the trailer that wasn't in the show?
No.
Talking about comic book movie tropes we all love. The trailer had a big blue laser into the sky out of the pyramid.
Oh, it did. Interesting.
And it never happened in the show. And I remember people joking about it being like, the big blue laser's back, baby. We haven't seen one since like Fant 4 Stick. Or Suicide Squad. There was one in Suicide Squad. They're like, it's back. And then it's not back. I think it was when there was a big purple light on top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
The big blue laser. And then they probably saw all these comments and edited out the big blue laser, because I feel like it was in the trailers because the trailers for these TV shows are always released like a day before.
Interesting.
But anyway, that was my point. I want to talk about big blue lasers.
Okay, so A or B. A is less of a complaint and more of a compliment, actually, and then there's B, which is what we want to talk about.
I'll go A then.
Okay. We should probably maybe we'll talk this about when we're regarding episode 5. But when Steven and Mark are on screen,
Oh yeah.
it looks flawless.
Yeah.
At no point in this show was I don't buy that they're both on screen together.
Mm-hmm.
And it sells to you that these are different people.
Yeah.
So why weren't they able to do? Well, I know why they weren't able to do with the Flash. They weren't able to do with the Flash because they weren't smart about it. I feel like every shot where you have Mark and Steven on screen, it's thought about. Like when he's in the reflection, like they plan it all out specifically so that they can do it. Like they use CGI, obviously, but to such a limited extent where they aren't relying on it too heavily. But the Flash relies on it so hard. Constant. You can tell they just shot it once. They were like, we can fix this in post.
Yeah, you are right. You have reminded me of a few complaints. Can I? And it's like an episode 5 complaint. So please, can I say it before we get to?
Yeah, I feel like the last complaint will be like the big one. So
this is an episode 6 complaint actually. I don't like the stuff at the start of this episode in the afterlife. And I think it's pretty pointless. I think there's no reason why Steven had to die in episode 5 and then immediately come back in episode 6. And I think you could have just have them be like, oh, the scales are balanced, yay. And then in the next episode, you don't see the afterlife until Khonshu resurrects the body. And then you're like, oh, nice. Like, I feel like that's a bit pointless. And like the bit I think is just that I'm kind of sitting there like, are we really doing this? Is the bit where Mark is dying with Steven. And you're like, when Steven dies, there's a part of you which would be like, oh, maybe they are killing off Steven. But then killing off Steven and Mark, you're like, okay, can we just get to the point where they come back to life, please? And it's like, and then he does have the cheesy line, which I'm not sure my opinion on, when he goes, my only real superpower is you. You can
that one, I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Just about this whole sequence as a whole.
Yeah, I get it is rather pointless, but like I didn't like when I was watching it, I wasn't like, oh my god. I was just I was fine with it.
Okay.
Not a big complaint of mine.
I kind of was a bit like, yeah. Anyway, go on.
Is that your complaint?
Yeah.
Okay. We had the same complaint when we first watched Moon Knight, and it's still a complaint. They skipped over the best fight scene.
Yeah, and they were kind of like, okay, now we have this really cool fight scene between Arthur Harrow and all these dudes and Moon Knight. And finally, this is the first fight scene we get where Steve and Mark are working together. And then they sat down to write it and they were like, oh, we don't really know how to resolve this and how to do anything interesting with this. Oh, let's just do what we did in episode 1 and make it happen off screen. Oh, yeah, but like, how does it happen off screen? We'll explain it in a post-credit scene. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like they don't even like address it in like the main episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it feels really lazy because they hint towards Jake Lockley the entire series just for him not to be seen till the post-credit scene.
And I don't like the reveal. Okay, full disclosure, I forgot to watch the post-credit scene on the episode. I finished the show and I was like, nice, I watched it. And then like an hour before we were recording, I was like, I didn't watch the Jake Lockley scene. And I was like, I remember it.
I like it. Why don't you like it?
It's not setting anything up. It's like tying off loose ends. And
okay, then I don't like it either. Yeah, I know what you mean. I agree with you.
And you don't get a moment. Like, it would have been more interesting if you like Mark and Steven suddenly realize there's Jake and they're like, oh no, what are we going to do about this? But they don't. They're kind of just like, Jake exists and we don't. And like, I don't know, the idea of Jake Lockley as a third personality doesn't really interest me as well, because it's kind of just like another Mark from what we've seen. It's just a harsh guy that likes to kill people, and I don't really see how that's going to be interesting there's going to be interesting conflict there if it isn't just a rehash of season 1.
Right. I think how you would make it interesting is like that he's sort of like a psychopath.
Yeah.
And like not like a Joker type necessarily, but like he enjoys killing people.
Yeah.
Which is different from Mark.
Yeah, but like that doesn't really interest. Like I don't know what it is.
I think that might be an interesting thing to do in like I think like if they made a season 2, Mark and Steven trying to kill Jake might be interesting.
Yeah, but also that's not a season. That's like a subplot within a season. So
That's true.
It doesn't excite me because I'm like, oh, okay, this is one thing that's going to be happening alongside everything else.
But them skipping, because when Moon Knight is switching to Mr. Knight and then Layla's also kicking butt, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And then it just goes away and then he wins.
And then Layla was just standing there the entire time watching it.
Yeah, she's just stuck. And then all of a sudden she's like, what were you about?
Yeah. We haven't got to the real complaint though.
What?
We haven't got to the real complaint though.
It's a real complaint.
In the post-credit scene, so Arthur Harrow, this is from my memory because like I said, I didn't watch it. Arthur Harrow gets taken into the limo and Jake Lockley's driving it and Khonshu's sitting in the back. Did Jake Lockley just steal a limo so Khonshu could pretend to sit in the back of it as like an illusion? Or did he already have a limo? Or just was Khonshu like, oh, can you get a car that's big enough for me to look a bit silly sitting in the back of it? You know, I think it's a bit silly. Am I remembering this correctly? That he's just in the back of a limo?
Yeah, you are. That's the big complaint.
Yeah, I think it's really silly that Khonshu's just sitting in the back of a limo being like, oh, you have been judged.
Well, like, it is, now you mention it, silly, but like also like it's just I mean
ruined
there's a big god bird being driven by a man with DID.
But just the idea that this ancient Egypt god is like, yeah, I'm gonna sit in the back of a limousine and just act real cool.
But he has a suit and he looks cool.
Yeah, it just made me laugh.
I don't know. I like this show requires me to suspend my disbelief to a certain extent, and I think Khonshu needing a limo falls in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's I think I think I'm disabled. I'm able to forgive that.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Okay, anyway, that is all our Moon Knight talk.
So
how do we do this? Do we choose a favorite episode or do we rank the show first?
Let's rank the show first.
Okay, so I'll go for our ranking and just so the audience knows, and then I'll go for it one by one, then we choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So from first place to 7th place, we have The Boys, Series 1, Daredevil Series 1, Peacemaker, The Mandalorian Series 2, The Mandalorian Series 1, WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's our ranking of the 7. Not okay. My ranking of the 7 goes Starlight, The Deep. Anyway.
You're so silly.
I'm a silly boy. We'll go from bottom to top.
Okay.
Is Moon Knight better than The Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yes.
Is Moon Knight better than WandaVision? I don't know. I'm not sure what I think.
Yes.
You think yes? Yeah, I think it does have a better last episode. I think WandaVision's more consistent, but I'm happy to put it above WandaVision.
Okay, what's above that?
The Mandalorian Series 1.
Oh, no.
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 So
not even close.
Can I point out an issue? Mandalorian Series 1, what's... Yeah, you're right. Can I point out the issue on our lists now?
Yeah.
The 3 bottom shows are all Marvel.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. Is this the best one? I don't know.
We haven't rewatched all of them.
Yeah, I really like She-Hulk.
You think She-Hulk's better than WandaVision?
I don't know.
I don't think so. And we still haven't talked about Loki yet.
Hawkeye's
That
good.
that'll be a hot topic. I'm not looking forward to that
I'm
day.
looking forward to Miss Marvel. I don't know why.
I feel like Loki has gone like I think Loki's the only show we don't see eye to eye on.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But I might change my mind. Who knows? I want to. I'm looking forward to. I will rewatch Miss Marvel when the Marvels comes out. I assume,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to that because I don't know because we watched like half the show together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the show itself is pretty crap apart from a really great first episode. But Iman Vellani is just great.
Iman Vellani is great. I think like if there's one thing to take out of these Disney Plus shows, it's the new cast.
I think it is. I think their quality is consistent with the current quality of the films, which is a good thing. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Anyway, we need to choose our favorite episode.
Okay.
I think it's one or two. I'm going to say out and say it. So just to recap, episode 1 is just Stephen. There's the big mystery. He goes to Switzerland, and then it ends with fighting the Jackal in the museum. Episode 2 is just him like investigating Mark more, and then ending with like the big reveal that he's in Egypt. Episode 3 is the badly paced one. Episode 4 is the one in the tomb, and then it has like a third of it in the afterlife. Episode 5 is all afterlife, and then episode 6 is the finale.
I think episode 2.
I'm happy with episode 2. I think that's the easiest we've ever chosen.
Because episode 1 is still really good, but we get a lot of Moon Knight, and Mr. Knight is introduced in episode 2.
Yeah.
Episode 1 is good, but episode 2 it is just like the first one, but it does everything the first one does, but better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like the reveal of like the conversation. I really like Layla in that episode. I really like I well I just dropped a contact lens.
Oh,
I like that bit.
that was a good part.
I remember that bit was in the trailer and everyone was like, what on earth is this accent?
But it's okay that it's stupid. It's okay.
When you watch the show, it is. When you watch that trailer, you're like, this is awful. This is Anyway, we need to figure out where we're ranking this episode alongside all the other episodes. I'm not going to read out each individual episode title for when I quickly run through them, but currently we go The Boys, Daredevil, Mando 2, Peacemaker, Mando 1, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision. So, is it better than the best episode of WandaVision, which is on a very special episode, which is the one where Quicksilver shows at the end? Yes. Is it better than the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 4?
Oh.
I think it is.
Yeah, but you get that awesome scene with Winter Soldier, Sam.
Oh, you do get killing the guy at the end. I'm going to check that's the episode.
No, I think it's the one where like right after that.
Let me check. I've got my recaps saved, so I can just
where like Sam and I can't even remember his name, but they get in a huge fight.
I think that's 5 with John Walker. Falcon Winter Soldier episode 4. Is that right? Yeah, episode 4. Bucky, Sam, and Zemo are looking for Carly in Latvia when
you're right.
Marshall. Yes, that is the one where John just
yeah.
I think it's worse than that.
Me too.
Oh, and that's the episode where like John and Zemo is all like, well, if all good superhero, yeah, which is a shame. That's interesting.
It's not a shame though, because I don't think we've watched a bad show yet.
No, you're right. I'm just saying, yeah. So episode 2 is called Summon the Suit. Nice.
All right.
Yeah. So it's lower than I thought, which is interesting.
We are ranking it low, but like it's against some pretty steep competition.
Yes, correct. Correct. So, what do you want to watch next month?
Well, next month is July. I don't know.
I mean,
we know who we should ask?
our audience.
Our audience.
I do have a suggestion for you that you're not going to like.
Oh.
In the month of August, Ahsoka comes out. What was the last thing we saw Ahsoka in, Harlan?
Boba Fett.
Sorry, what was that?
Boba Fett.
Okay. Here's the deal. Ahsoka doesn't come out until the end of August. So do you want to agree now to do Boba Fett in August? And then July, we can do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your 2 picks?
The Boys season 2.
The Boys season 2 and
The Boys season 3.
No. I'm gonna go Jessica Jones season 1 as my first pick.
Okay. And my second pick will be Defenders. Let's make it really hard on ourselves.
Okay, Defenders. And then my second pick will be, I'll go Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, final quick question. What do you think of Secret Invasion episode 1?
Really good.
I think it's pretty good.
The opening title sequence is bad.
I think it's like Hawkeye though, because Hawkeye had the opening title sequence in episode 1 and then never saw it again.
Oh, I just don't like it because of the AI.
Yeah.
Bad. I was heartbroken over that because I watched it at 3 a.m. I watched the episode at 3 a.m. because I just happened to be up and it got put on Disney Plus. I'm like, I might as well. And I saw the intro sequence. I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. It was AI. They duped me.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I really need to see where the show's going to get like a full opinion on it.
The show or the title sequence? What?
The show.
Yeah, the show. But a good setup. But Marvel typically sticks to landing with their pilots that we've seen so far.
I mean, that's very true. Apart from, I don't know, the Miss Marvel pilot is great. Like, genuinely, really, really good.
Yeah, all the pilots are good.
Do you remember like all the cool editing they do in that?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, I really like that episode. Anyway, that is all for today. Next week.
Adios.
I don't know what we're doing next week, but we'll be lucky if there's a podcast. Is anything out? I don't know. We can talk about this in a second. We will talk to you, dear listener. We will talk to you directly next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.